Welcome back.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it sounds so fucking lame. Anyways, this is our first try at a podcast. We thought that we could do a podcast, and maybe we're gonna figure out after this episode that it might not work out after I just spent a fuckload of money on equipment. But we're gonna try it. This is we've been wanting to do this podcast for a while because Sunni said that she's been wanting to do a podcast, which struck me as odd.
Well, because there's like a lot of things that we talk about, like people talk about, and it's like it's interesting, like just to have to go a whole conversation about a specific thing. That's just cool.
That's true. And then I've been wanting to do a podcast. I love talking in front of a camera, and I don't want to do it myself to seem like a fucking weirdo. But I also didn't want to do it with somebody that I agree with. Me and my sister don't agree on shit. So I think this is a good idea, because if I said something or brought up a topic and you're like, yeah, that's true, that makes for a boring ass podcast, in my opinion. I think the person that you're supposed to create a podcast with is somebody you don't see eye to eye with all the time. And if you know me and my sister, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
It's because I'm right and you're always wrong. That's why.
This might be like 5 episodes, and then we might get mad like on the 5th, and then this just might be ending. So don't get used to it, but if you enjoy it, stick around until it's no longer there. When we first brought it up on Instagram, people were wanting us to talk about the cemetery and ghosts and haunted and all that shit. And really, that's like, I guess it's a big part of our life, and we didn't even really realize it, but I don't really want to talk about that all the time. We will, but
that's not what the whole podcast is going to be about.
Yeah, I think we had it in our minds, me and Sunni were, and Eric is also here. He's just off camera. He's the little producer type deal. I hope it's recording, because if not, this is going to be a giant...
We have to redo this whole thing.
We'll figure it out. We were practicing before, so we got it, I think. But anyways, when we first started talking about it, I think it was just like, let's just talk about this, let's talk about that, like stuff that didn't really have to do with our lives. And then when we posted it online, we were like,
and everyone wanted to hear about our lives and our work and the headstones in the cemetery. It was just like, oh, we forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't know that people were interested in that much. I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting, but
I guess it's interesting to them because we grew up with it. And like, you know, so like for us it's like an everyday thing, but for them it's not.
It's not. Yeah, for us it's kind of like boring, like it's like another day at work. But sometimes I have to kind of like reel it in and be emotionally there, because people are dying and we're installing headstones, and we're just fucking I guess we're just kind of like going through the motions, but it's people's lives. Like these headstones have a person attached to them that died, and for us it's kind of just like, okay, let's just go move this rock and put it somewhere, which kind of like we wanted to talk about one topic, maybe an episode of the cemetery and the funeral stuff, so that way we don't oversaturate with just funeral things. So the one thing that we kind of agreed to talk about was the cult, that we delivered a headstone to that cult. Do you remember?
Yeah. Like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it was on the outskirts of El Paso. We won't, for privacy reasons, we won't tell you where it's
exactly
at or
where.
Who it is, but we delivered we sold the headstone, and at this time, you know, Sandy, my wife, she's the one selling the headstones, and so we didn't really meet these people. But my wife was like, hey, you're going to a private place. It's not a cemetery, it's a community, and you're just going to install this headstone. They buried this person on the land. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because we've installed like on ranches and stuff. Yeah. But never like, it was like a community. They didn't say it was a ranch. And so we load up the headstone when it's done, and we're driving out there. And it's about how far is it away, you think?
I want to say like from here?
Yeah.
Like 20, 25 miles from here?
Yeah.
It's maybe about a little farther.
It's like a good 30, 40 minute drive. And then when you get to where like the main road ends,
you turn on like this random dirt road that you wouldn't know is there unless you turn on there.
Yeah. The person met us like
10
on the
miles
main road.
in.
Yeah, he met us like on the main road, and he's like, okay, just follow me. And yeah, we went like on an unpaved road
For a while.
yeah, for like 20, 25 minutes at the least. And then well, we didn't know what to expect. We were just there to kind of like drop the headstone off, install it.
Yeah.
And then when we pulled up, there was
It's like a whole community of like trailer homes and like RVs.
And people were living out there. Like nobody, I don't think anybody knows it exists. Like
yeah,
if
unless you're actually going out there, you wouldn't find it. You really wouldn't. Like it's in like it's in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And it's almost like as if time stopped, because like there was like old swing sets for like the kids, and they're like, oh, we even have a school here.
And there was no one there, no one outside. Like everybody was inside their houses, like if they didn't want us to see them or something.
Yeah, it was really weird. And the woman,
very nice people though.
yeah, very nice lady, people. But she bought the headstone for her husband, and her husband was literally buried right next to her trailer. Like
we walked around her house, and it was right there on the side,
like 10
of
yards
her house.
away.
And there was multiple.
Yeah, it wasn't just her husband. Like it was like, oh, this is my husband's dad and mom and family member. And I'm like,
it was like God. A little cemetery.
Yeah, and so we get there, we're installing this headstone, and I saw like one child, and no, there was that one child that was outside barefoot with like the dirtiest feet, and it would just seem like something like out of a horror movie. Like I looked at Sunny, and I'm like, we need to get the fuck.
It kind of reminded me of Texas Massacre, like the Chainsaw Massacre, because that was literally, we're in the middle of nowhere. Like it was just desert everywhere.
Yeah. Like if they wanted to capture us and kill us, and nobody would have found us.
Nobody would have known.
They wouldn't have found us. For sure they wouldn't have found us, or at least it would have taken them years to find out where we're at. Because
we were legit in the middle of nowhere. Like they didn't give us an address. They're like, meet us here and we'll take you where you need to be at.
Yeah. And she made it seem, because there was like maybe 5 or 6 trailers that we could see, but she made it seem like there was a whole village.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we have a school, we have a nurse on site, but if we need to go to the hospital, we'll fly. Like, because they were asking like questions. And then I had to pee so bad. Oh, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to hold it. And I couldn't hold it anymore. So I'm like, fuck, like I'm literally going to risk my life. But I had to ask her to use the restroom. And she's like, oh, yeah, you can go to the public bathrooms. And then so she sent me, like, she veered off like this way, like, hey, it's over here. So we walked over there, and I'm like peeing in this old trailer that they turned into a restroom, like a public restroom. And I was like, what the hell is this? And literally I got out of that restroom and like praying that Sunny was still there. My dad was with us, but my dad was kind of like, I don't know, my dad doesn't really care. Or like,
I don't think Dad noticed how weird of a situation we were in.
Yeah,
until we left, and we're like, what the heck was going on?
Yeah, because he was like, oh yeah, like, oh well, they live out here. I'm like, yeah, Dad, there's people, like a whole village, like a whole community lives out here. What are you talking about? Like this place, I didn't even know it existed, and I've lived here my whole life. And he's like, well, I guess that is kind of strange. Like he didn't even. And I'm like.
And like my first thought was like, okay, it's a family living out here. Like they just grew their family and they started living out here in the middle of nowhere. No, like these are people who lived here. Like not everybody was related. Yeah. So it just, like how did you find this place and then just decide to live there?
Live there and create a community. And they were all based off of the church, like their church. I don't know what religion it was, but...
And the church was there too, right?
The church was there, and the person that we were burying was the old pastor.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't burying him. We were putting his headstone. It was the old pastor. And so they was like, oh, yeah, he got sick. He had cancer, and he died. But so it's based around a church, so obviously it seemed like culty type deal. Anyways, I just felt... we're gonna die. and we could have died. I don't know. I mean, or at least went missing, or told us like, hey, come drink this Kool-Aid, you know, eat this dinner that we, and then we were zombies out there just living out.
Because really though, like, I mean, I guess it could happen at any point, but really though, if they had killed us and like just buried us somewhere, I don't think anybody would have found our bodies.
No, they wouldn't have found us. They wouldn't have found us for sure.
And there was even like roads like behind the trailers, like going up into like the mountains and areas.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm thinking maybe it was bigger than we saw, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, we didn't even stick around to find out either, because we were like, let's just get the fuck out of here, because who knows what's going to happen, like, if we stick around, and kind of, like, curiosity literally will kill the cat. It's just like, nah, fuck that. And honestly, like, I'm so glad, like, that we got to see it, but yeah we were scared.
Because it's interesting to see, like, man, nobody really knows until you know that you're out here.
We get so used to, like, living out in the town, and like, you go, like,
and always
Walmart.
Having something available.
Walmart's like 5 minutes away, you know, or your school, where like all your friends were like
McDonald's
hundreds.
is right here. Like, you can go and get food anywhere, and it's right here.
They need a drive for almost an hour to get
go
to
to the
some type of
nearest store.
civilization outside of their own. So I have no idea. You know what I remembered? She was on a breathing machine, like an old fashioned. Because
she even had it. Yeah,
like,
she even had it. Yeah.
Like she was like Darth Vader. Like, like that's what we were hearing while we were like taking the headstone down. We could just hear, "I am your father" type shit, and we were like, I was like, that I've never. The new, you know, oxygen tanks, you kind of carry that thing, and it's like, silent. It's just like, but this thing, I don't know what the hell. It ran on batteries or
because she had it like attached to her, and then she had like a little bag.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The bag was probably like where she carried all the souls she's collected.
Oh my god,
or something. No, but in all honesty, yeah, she was on a breathing type deal, and I think that also scared me even more, because I'm like, modern medicine hasn't even gotten out here yet. This thing is like literally like a fan, like just shoveling oxygen to her, like she can like pass out at any moment without it. So I don't know, it was just pretty interesting. I know that this doesn't have to do with ghosts, but it's kind of scary. You know, I guess it was. We were fucking scared.
Yeah, you know? I guess you had to be there to be like, oh well, that's a little scary. You had to see it.
Yeah, and then like, as soon as we left, I was like, oh, thank God, like we made it. And like, my dad was like, hey, well, you know, let's see if there's anything around here to eat. And I'm like, there's fucking nothing. What are you talking about? We gotta
go back home.
Let's just go home. Let's get out of here. Let's forget we ever came over here. And so, yeah, that was the one story, I guess, that we can share that kind of stuck out to us. And we'll have other stories, I guess, about the cemetery, about the funerals and headstones and stuff. But mostly, I guess people want to hear about ghosts. And for me...
And really, like, you have to understand that we've grown up at the cemetery. So any ghosts and, like, experiences, we kind of see as normal. Like, well, it happened, you know? Like, you drive through the cemetery and you see somebody standing there and there's nobody there. Well, it's because it just happens.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, and then when you're out there cutting grass, digging graves, or setting a headstone, and it's 105 degrees, if something whispers at you, you're really not in the fucking mood to be like, oh, you know, you're just like, oh my God, hello, I'm so thirsty, like, just forget it. but there has been like some stories, and then maybe we'll get into them later. But I guess this is kind of just like the starter podcast, and we don't know where it's gonna go from here. And who knows, maybe that'll be like mostly what we talk about. I kind of hope not, but
just because that's our everyday lives.
This we made this to kind of get away from that. So, you know, I mean, yeah, we'll touch on it because I guess people are interested in it. And obviously, if we're not going to talk about what people are interested in, who's going to watch this shit? You know what I mean? What if they don't want to watch, like, they're like, oh my God, they're talking about, like, you know, I don't know what's on TikTok, and people don't want to hear that. And, you know what I kind of realized talking about, like, creating the podcast, how fucking hard it was to come up with a name for this thing. We literally...
Hey, but we came up with it in an hour.
In an hour. It came up in an hour.
But it was to like barely start. We're like, oh man, what do we do?
And we were like, we had like 5 names. Death in the Hoodie kind of doesn't really mean anything to us. It's just kind of like
it was just like a fun. We were like, oh, that sounds cool. Like that's cool.
Yeah, and I don't even know who thought of it. I don't know how it came up, but we came up with this idea for it. And we don't even know what it means to us. It doesn't really have any significance. It's just kind of like the only thing that wasn't taken. Because we would come up with the name and I would search for it like on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To see
like how many podcasts already had that name. And
the first one was The Graveyard, but like that was our number one. Like, that's going to be it. That's going to be it.
That one had a lot.
And there was like maybe 6 or 7 podcasts like that I found right away that are named that. And then Graveyard Shift, and they were like, no, that's even worse. There was even more people. So, and then we were also saying like Graveyard, and I'm like, we'll spell it like with the capital R, the capital R, and then a 3 for an E. And I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna be super hard to find. Like we're gonna have to explain to everybody, hey, make sure you use a capital R and a 3 so it symbolizes a backwards E. And no, Death in a Hoodie just kind of it has a ring to it. It doesn't mean anything to us. So if it doesn't stick around, like who cares? But it's kind of just what it is. And I guess, I mean, who knows? I mean, this might be like a weekly, every other week thing. Might be once a month. We don't even know. We haven't even talked about it that much. I've been kind of like just buying equipment. Starting a podcast is so fucking expensive.
It seems like it. I didn't buy anything.
I know firsthand that you didn't fucking buy anything. To buy, like, I was like, we need a round table. Fucking table. You know what I mean? The headphones, the mics, the recording shit. Eric's time. I'm paying Eric. No, I'm kidding. He's not getting paid.
So he's getting paid?
We're getting paid? No. But anyways, I'm just kind of exaggerating how much money but it is a lot of money. So we were like, oh shit. Like I told people like, oh yeah, we'll have a podcast like next week. And I'm like, oh no, I don't have the money to do it next week. I was like literally waiting for a paycheck and then I'd buy a piece of equipment. Another paycheck and then I'd buy like a microphone.
This stuff looks expensive.
It is. And I was like, well, maybe she'll buy her headphones. Like, buy your headphones, buy your mic.
I will buy more headphones. I will buy another headphone.
Those are Eric's headphones.
I know.
She's using Eric's headphones right now, just to let you know. I bought myself some dope-ass headphones, and then they didn't even work, so I had to send them back. So I'm, like, I bought these at Walmart because I'm broke. You know what I mean? And in the future, I guess we'll also talk about... I'm a new parent. I'm a new dad.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We have to bring the twins.
Yeah, they'll be a guest. They'll be our first guest maybe. But that's gonna be cool to talk about too, and I'll share like some experiences of being a dad of twins. Because it's weird. It's cool. It's nothing I ever imagined it. I mean, people say you'll never imagine what it's like to be a dad, and I think that's true. But I think it's even more so for like you never know what it's like to be a dad of twins, and I think that will be fun to share as I'm going through it, because this has they're only 3 months right now, so I've only been going through it since December, so that's gonna be cool. Everybody seems like addicted to them, and when I walk into a room, like nobody's even excited to see me anymore. They're like, "Where are your babies?" I'm like, God. And you're like, you guys too, you more so. I think it's just like, where are they? Dude,
I call them every day and I'm like, let me see them.
He
shows them to me.
That's so cool. I mean, it's just awesome. It's cool to have support. But
they're little Louies though. They look like you. So technically we are excited to see you.
No.
Maybe your face on somebody else.
I guess if you kind of put it that way. But I think moving on to like another topic that we were wanting to touch on. We kind of brought it up, and I guess it's super random. I don't even have a way to segue to this, but how is your oven at home? Before you describe it to me, I'm going to describe it for you, and I'm going to describe, if you're Hispanic, I'm going to describe your oven to you. It's an old-ass oven. Probably on the top, there's fucking foil, like on the stove, so that it doesn't get dirty for some reason. And Hispanics do that. But the main thing is when you open the oven, you have to take all your fucking pots and pans out. Why do we do that? Like, as Hispanics, we've been doing that for fucking, like, since I was a kid. It's, like, normal.
And I didn't know it wasn't normal until I went to my best friend's house. Mm. And then I was like, oh, we're going to use your oven, but we have to take the stuff out. And she's like, what stuff? And I was like, don't you guys have, like, your pots and pans in there? Or, like, your, like, something in there? And she's like, we have our baking sheets in there, but other than that, we don't have anything else in there. We have what goes in the oven when you bake something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. I was like, oh, I have all my pots and pans and stuff in there. She's like, why do you do that? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's just the weirdest fucking thing. And yeah, that same thing happened to me is that I went to like a friend's house that was of a different ethnicity, and they were like, oh yeah, we don't store our shit in the oven. What the fuck? That's not a storage. That's an oven. Like, and it kind of brings me to like another thing, and I'm going to kind of put our cousin on blast because she almost fucking lit Sunny's house on fire.
Oh, God.
She was baking. She was going to bake something. So obviously...
We take everything out. And a lot of ovens have a bottom compartment at the bottom so you can put like your baking sheets or like your cupcake trays or whatever. She left everything in there because she thought everything was metal. And she had a plastic... What was it, cutting board?
A plastic cutting board was in the oven. So I don't even know what's going on because they were baking something over there. And Sunny lives...
Like, I live like down the street from my parents.
Yeah, so I was at my parents' house, kind of just like hanging out. And I see her running in. She's like, where's the fire extinguisher? Where's the fire? Like that.
I came in panicking on the phone with Dad. And I was like, where's the fire extinguisher? I don't know where it's at. I don't know where it's at.
So then we kind of like, I'm like, oh, it's over there. It's over there. So she runs. She grabs the fire extinguisher, runs out. She's like in like pajamas.
I'm in like full panic mode because like this fire had already gotten to the point where it was coming up from the bottom storage thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shoot. I was like, that's it. Like, that's it. Like this, that's it. Like everybody's house is going to burn down. That's it.
And so, and then Hispanics are like, oh yeah. Like my dad's like, don't call 911. Don't call 911. He's like, just do it yourself. Turn it off. Turn it off. And
I was looking for baking soda in my house because I was like, well, you put baking soda on it. Like you're not supposed to throw water on it because of the oils and stuff like that. Right. So I was looking for that and I was like, I don't have that. So that's when I called Dad and it was already coming up from the bottom and I was like, I was freaking out.
Think of like that's Hispanic way to die. There's stuff in the oven that we didn't take out, mostly because our cousin is fucking lazy as shit. She didn't want to take out. She's like, oh, it's metal. It's just gonna get hot. No big deal. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. That is a Hispanic thing. And then the other Hispanic thing is like my sister calls my dad and is like, Dad, the oven's on fire.
I don't call 911. I call my dad.
I call my dad, which is weird, first of all. And then my dad's like, oh no, don't call 911. Just put it out. Like as if Sunny was like a firefighter or some shit.
Like, what? I was like baking soda. I was like,
run to the house, go get the fire extinguisher, and go put it out.
Now I have one. Let's put that. Let's just say that. Now I have one in my house because I didn't have one before.
So she'll skip calling Dad and calling 911 and just put the fire out. She's gonna grab her firefighter helmet and put it on. I'm gonna put some like a thick coat on and just like wear a mask. You gotta. Oh my God! When you use a fire extinguisher, you cannot breathe. Oh yeah. Well, let me get to that. So we're running. Well, she's running, and I'm like, let me figure out what the fuck she's running about. Something's on fire. So
him and Sandy come running after me.
Yeah, we're literally chasing after her. And she's like carrying this heavy ass extinguisher. And then she's like, the oven's on fire. The oven's on fire. I'm like, oh shit. So I run inside and she is like,
I'm trying to because I don't know how to use a fire extinguisher.
She's
like
pushing the thing.
Like in my mind, like I knew to pull the pin, but I didn't, and I just like you freak out at the time, and I'm like, I don't know how to I didn't know how to use it
because you're not a firefighter, right?
Yes.
So I mean, like that, you're not trained to like.
And I thought maybe just go get the hose or like.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh fuck, and so she's like this, and I'm like, Sunny, pull the pin. Pull the pin. She's like, what?
I was like, all spazzing out.
Pull the pin. I'm like, pull the fucking pin. And she's like, I don't know. And so I was like, give me the fucking fire extinguisher. So I pull the pin. Honestly, I felt like fucking superhero, honestly, to be honest. Like, I saved her life. I saved her house. She owes me. And I bought all the podcast equipment. So you owe me a lot of money, bro. You know what I mean? We'll talk about that later. I'll come up with a spreadsheet.
Hey, but firefighters, you don't pay. So...
Pay me. I'm not a firefighter. You know what I mean? You got to pay for my training. Because, anyways, so I pull the pin, I aim it, and I'm fucking, you know what I mean? Trying to pull this shit, put it out.
This shit went everywhere.
fire extinguishers are the messiest fucking thing.
It, like, you see it on the show and like the smoke goes everywhere. I thought that was fake. No, that's actually how it happens. Like, the smoke goes all everywhere, all over the house. Thank God I had my door closed, because if not, it would have went in there too.
Yeah, and then you also realize why firefighters wear the gas masks.
Oh,
with that covers their eyes and their nose, because the fucking powder gets in your eyes, starts burning.
I practically came crawling out of my house because it was so bad.
We were like
couldn't breathe
in the minefield, like on Vietnam, like fucking like
doing like an army crawl to the door.
Get under the smoke line. And we fucking crawled out or whatever, ran out. By this time, our neighbors are out there like, what the fuck is going on? Because they can hear us yelling. They can hear like us like, oh my God, I got. And then Sunni, and then my cousin is just like, oh my God, well, I just thought like that it would be fine. It would be fine. I'm like, shut up. Like, we're past that. And
I started freaking out because at the time we had 3 dogs living with us. And then she had her little lizard. So she runs inside to get her lizard, and I'm freaking out for all the dogs, and they were all in my room under the bed. Yeah. So it was so freaking hard to get them out of the house.
They would have probably died.
Well, because I had my door closed, they didn't have the...
I wouldn't have gone...
Oh, I would have gone back in. Ain't no way. I would have gone back in.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with you. You're pretty fucking reckless. Like, honestly.
Well, these are like my dogs are like my family members.
I get it. I have 2 dogs that I love, but I don't love them like that. I mean, they're family members, but they're like,
you wouldn't risk your life to go back in the house.
Yeah, they're not my son and daughter. They're like my stepson and daughter.
Oh, you know what I mean? My God.
I care for them just a little bit less than my kids. A lot less than my kids, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it. But I do love them, and I feed them, and I don't call the fucking dog catcher on me or whatever.
No, he doesn't take care of his dogs. He doesn't love them.
Whatever. They have their shots. They have their food. I got them like this expensive food, and now that I tried to get them cheaper food, they won't eat it. So I have to pay for like really expensive food. And anyways, I take care of my fucking dogs. Please don't.
You love your dogs. You do.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. Now that you have kids too, you don't want to risk your life going back in, especially because they follow you. Yeah. Like, if they see something's going on, they'll come out anyway.
Yeah, and your dogs are kind of dumb, so they kind of would have just.
Okay, Sammy would have followed me, but the rest would have been all scared under the bed.
Yeah, probably. and so kind of getting back to the fire about it, like the Hispanic in us. Why do we do that? And so that's kind of strange that like we can't even like fathom or who started that. Like, you have to realize like,
because even like
if you go back,
Grandma and Grandpa used to do that here, even though they were like the cleanest people, like the most organized people,
but they're fucking,
and they still had the pots and pans. Yeah.
Whenever I had to, growing up, I used to love like DiGiorno, like the frozen pizzas. Yeah. And then I would like think about it like, oh, I want pizza. Oh,
have to take everything out.
Yeah. And then you take everything out, you put the pizza in the oven, and then you have to hear your parents, you better fucking put everything back
the way you found it. Yeah, I used to take a picture of the oven to see where each pots and pans were. Keep them together, like the stacks, keep them together, because if you don't keep them together, you won't be able to fit them back in there.
And you know, I learned from you, at my house, that the pots and pans are not in the oven. They're not. I was like,
and I told myself, when I move out, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, where do I put my pots and pans? I legit was like, where do I put them? I even looked like for like the cabinets and stuff, and I was like, well, I have stuff in here. I have stuff in here. I was like, I don't have enough room. Well, they go in the oven. So I don't use my oven though, because it's broken now. So either way, it's fine.
Oh yeah, you still haven't replaced your oven.
It's been like 4 years.
Oh shit, that sucks. Yeah, no, but yeah, so we wanted to share that idea that we came up, and we're like, wow, that's probably pretty interesting to talk about. But anyways, I think that's kind of, we don't want to make this too long. Yeah, we kind of want to keep it short and sweet, because I think
the more we get used to it, like the more we'll have to talk about it.
I think we'll find a sweet spot. Like, we won't make it 2 hours, but we'll make it maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes. Right now, we kind of want to keep it around the, what are 30. We at, like half hour right now? 45 minutes, Eric? Half hour. Okay. So yeah, let's kind of like, we'll keep it to the half hour for now. And then
this first one is really just to explain like why we wanted to do this, and
a couple stories.
Kind of bring it in a little bit, like how we wanted it to go.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I think and honestly, like, we want your feedback. Like, I kind of made it seem like, oh, you guys always want them to talk about ghosts. Like, no, if you really want us to talk about, like, we are gonna talk about it. No, we will,
and it's because it's a big part of our life, so it's kind of hard for us not to talk about it, but. Yeah. We don't want to make it the whole thing.
Yeah, because then we'll get bored. And then we don't want to be bored either. So kind of like leave us some feedback. Tell me stuff that you want to talk about. We'll talk about it. I don't really care. I don't know if this is kind of like a comedy podcast, a serious podcast, or just a podcast where we're fucking arguing. But I mean, we'll get there. I'm sure we will argue because you're fucking stubborn. You know what I mean?
And, so are you.
Yeah, so am I.
You're a Leo. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
So am I.
And I'm sure
I'd like to say that. So am I.
We're gonna talk about probably signs too, because she's such a oh my god, it's giving Leo shit. And I'm just like, oh my god, I was born in July. Wow, that's great. You know what I mean? But I guess we'll talk about that too.
That's such a Leo thing to say. Just kidding.
But anyways, thank you for tuning in. If you listen to this whole thing and watch the whole thing, like, hats off to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
We appreciate it, because I don't even like listening to myself for this long. So I think we'll kind of cut it off there, and then next time, I don't know if it's next week or in 2 weeks, for the next episode, we'll have a little bit more to talk about. Let us know how long you want us to keep these. I mean, that would be cool for you guys. If you guys ask, like, hey, make it longer. It was too short. We'll make it longer. We can fucking talk forever.
Yeah. Like, we were on a 4-hour trip and we talked the whole time about what we could talk about them on the podcast.
Yeah. We literally have like subjects. Like, I was checking notes on my phone. We have subjects for like the first 3 episodes. But if there's stuff that's more important that you want us to talk about, we'll move it out of the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we can just talk. If you give us a little bit of a pointers, subjects, and then we'll talk about it. But I think that's kind of where we'll end it. Thank you for tuning in. And do you have anything you want to shout out? Ew.
A little ASMR.
Ew, I hate those things.
You don't like ASMR?
No, and I always catch them like on Instagrams and TikTok where they're like, stop doing that. People are gonna be like, ugh. Dude, I honestly, like, I swap it, or like on TikTok, you know how you could say like, I'm not interested, don't show me this again.
Oh my god.
I do that to the ASMR things.
I do that to the ASMR, but I don't like the mouth thing. The thing I just did, I don't like that.
Oh, it's so gross.
But I do like ASMR, but I don't like the mouth thing I just did.
Anyways, let us know if you want ASMR too. I'll just fucking get out of it. I'll get off and be like, Sunny, do ASMR for like 15 minutes and I'll be back. I'm gonna go take a piss.
Yeah.
So, anyways, okay, well, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. I don't know what next time is, but we'll see you next time.